The last part of constructors and the initial part of the next topic is to do validation. So validation is to make sure that we create a instance of a class that is correct. So I've got a similar structure as I had before, parent, child. First I'm going to show you a very horrible thing, okay? And then we'll see how we can work around it. Let's make our traditional kind of class. So private int age. So this might be a way that you've been shown to do things before. And I'm going to show you things that go wrong. Lots of books and the internet teach this way. Oh, I guess I'll show you this nice thing you can do. You can refactor and you can say encapsulate fields, which let you do a set and a get method. Voila. So we've got our age, we can set it and get it and all that. Let's go to main, let's make a So we have we're making a brand new parent. So we're going to go to the constructor. So we said new, so that allocates enough memory to hold things, and it sets it all to 0. So the age gets set to 0. We called the constructor that took no arguments. That'd be this one. And maybe we're going to hard code the age to be 100 in that case. So the age gets set to 100, and then we come in here and we print out the age, so that should, we call get age, that should return 100, so we should print that out. Then we set the age to 10 and get the age again. So setting age changes the age, so when we do the next one, it should print out 100 here, it should print out 10 here, and then we make a brand new one with 12, so we call this constructor here, that sets it to 12, and then when we call get age, it'll be 12. So it should be 100, 10, and 12. Voila. A few things. One, we don't like this. We're going to call this this passing in 100. So that'll give us the same effect. There's no difference. And awesome. The thing we don't like is, what if we want to do this? If a is less than 0, throw a new invalid what am I? Okay. That's not right. What am I? What? One quick thing. madly trying to find it on my phone. Illegal argument exception. I have not misspelled that. I've not forgotten that name for ages. Illegal argument exception. That's going to cause the program to crash if we send in something less than 0. You don't normally want your program to crash. However, there's some things where we do. We'll talk more about that when we get to exception handling. I'm giving you a very brief introduction to exception handling. And we want to actually say an intelligent message here. A must be greater than or equal to 0, comma, was A. So now we'll find out why it had an issue. So if the A is less than 0, we say it has to be greater than or equal to 0, and we throw an exception. So now, if we were to come in here and set a parent to 0, we'll be fine. Set the parent to be 1, that'll be fine. Set the parent to be -1, it'll crash. What if I do this? That should crash too, right? We would want that to crash, but it doesn't crash, it's perfectly fine. The reason it's perfectly fine is we didn't put this code here. But we don't want to do that. We don't want to have the same code in two places. What happens if we change this to be, it has to be, if it's less than or equal to, say we want to make it equal, it has to be 1 or more, right? So we do that, now we've got a problem because we changed it in one place but not the other, and it's inconsistent. So we don't want to do that. So what people often do is this. And we can run that and see what happens. And it's fine, it worked, right? We called setAge, we passed in -1, and it crashed. All good. So there's no problem with this. There's a huge problem with this. Okay? I'm going to show you the huge problem with this. It comes down to polymorphism. And the order of initialization. Oops, see, I did that. You know, I made the mistake that I told you guys not to make, and it caught it because of the final. So let's go ahead and do this, and just run it like this and see what happens. So we're going to go to main, and we're going to make a child. I'm going to pass in hello. Run this, it'll all be fine. Oh, sorry, it won't be fine. It's because of this. It won't work. So this should print out, well, what do you think it's going to print out? So let's take a look at the child. We're just calling which constructor? We're calling super that takes no arguments, which means we're calling this one. And what does this one do? It calls the constructor here that takes the value passed in, 100. And it calls setAge, and it sets the age to be 100. So this should print out 100. And it does. Awesome. And then we decide, hey, you know what? This is actually, we want to do this tricky thing. Public. And we're going to actually ignore that value passed in, and we're going to set the age to be the length of the string. I'm going to have to call super.setAge because I don't have access to the age variable. That's fine. So now we passed in We passed in hello, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 characters long. So when this runs, it should actually print out that the age is 5, right? Because that's what we set the age to. So if we run through that, well, actually, let's go ahead and run it, and then see why it all blew up. Right? Wait, what? We get this null pointer exception. Can't call string length because the string is null, but the string isn't null, is it? I mean, obviously it is, but I set the string right here. Okay? So I want you to try and think about what's gone wrong. So pause. Okay, so let's put in the missing bits. We called super here. And in parent, we call super here. We don't call it here because super can only get called once. So when we call this constructor, this one we'll call the super. So something has to call the super, but not all of them. So we came into main. We said new child passing in hello. We went to child, and the first thing we did is we called super, which took us to parent. First thing it did was call this with 100, called super object, and then it came back and it called set age. Think back to polymorphism. This is the same as saying this dot set age. Problem with that is, what's the static type? Parent. What's the dynamic type? Child. So in here, we're calling set age, not on parent, we're calling it on child. And it's going to call stir.length. What's the value of stir at this point in time? It's null, because this line hasn't executed yet, because this line won't execute until set age returns. And then we return back to the child constructor. So stir has never been given a value, it's null. Even though it's final, it can only get a value once, it's still null. So this is why we do not call methods inside of constructors. There's only one kind of method you can safely call inside of a constructor, and that's a static method. So that just means we change this code a little bit. Make a static method. And then this calls check age. And this calls check age. We still have the age is assigned to A in 2 places, but that's fine. We no longer have that calling of the set age in here, therefore everything will work out just fine. I don't know why it actually printed out 100 instead of... Oh, because it never got called. We never called set age. We'd actually have to call it explicitly now. So this one should print out 5. And it does, because it's taking the size of the string for the age, not the size passed in, which is really dumb. Don't do that, right? But I was just trying to show you the why you don't call methods inside of a constructor. So the only thing your thing can do, and we can be really explicit, is call a static method. If you call static methods, you're fine. The one thing the static method should not take is this. The whole problem is that this is not fully initialized yet. You can't safely use this to do anything other than set variables, basically, or look at your variables, until the constructor is finished. Once the constructor is finished, you can safely use this. Okay? So that ties together, the trick with constructors in order of initialization and polymorphism. They do not play well together. You cannot call polymorphic methods until your object is fully created, which means you can't call any polymorphic methods until after the constructor has executed. At this point in time is the first time you can call a polymorphic method. So that was one piece of it. The other piece is make sure you check your parameters for anything that could go wrong. And I would recommend doing it with this check call. So have the, and you can either do parent.checkAge or just call checkAge. Doing it this way makes it a little bit clearer that this one is a static method. Your choice. So I would recommend doing them as the static things and throwing the exception. Illegal argument exception for now is perfectly good. Next week we're going to talk about exception handling. So this gives you the very bare bones that you need for that.